Welcome to the Wrestling Analyst podcast, Beyond the Bell, where the real story begins after the final bell. I'm your host, Night Stalker Luc Baudier, and together we'll break down the week's biggest moments, analyze storylines, and bring you opinions that hit harder than the steel chair. We will also explore how I would be booking a storyline if I were head of creative. Because here, every match tells a story, and we're here to break it down. So hit subscribe, leave a like, and click that notification bell, and let's go beyond the bell. Okay, so with the weekend review, we got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get right to it. Let's start with Survivor Series, the women's WarGames match. We saw AJ Lee pinning Becky Lynch, which is good for the story. Even if I had Becky pinning AJ in my predictions, it keeps the feud going and Becky's breakdown too, which is so funny right now. And it continues Becky's story to AJ Lee and Jessika Carr. Now, Becky versus Jessika Carr will be the subject of my booking room segment next week. This could be very interesting. Dominic Mysterio wins back the Intercontinental Championship with the help of Liv Morgan. And Dominic gets a huge victory out of that. And it's passing of the torch moment for John Cena to Dominic Mysterio. Could this set up what I have made in a fantasy booking video with Dom and Finn for the IC title at WrestleMania? I linked the video for this on the screen right now. Stephanie Vaquer retains the women's world championship. Not the best match of the night, obviously, but that was expected. I had Dominic win, and I had Vaquer to retain. And the men's War Game match, we saw Braun Breaker pin CM Punk for the win after a mystery man attacks Punk with a super kick and a curb stomp after climbing in the cage. Everything in that attack was to make believe that it was Rollins, but it can't be Rollins because he got shoulder surgery recently. So there's no way it could be Rollins. It could all be for a future swerve that Rollins was the mystery man in the end, and that everything was a ruse to begin with. But it's probably Austin Theory under those clothes. So this Breaker win probably sets up a match against CM Punk for the title. Will it take place at WrestleMania? I doubt it. I see it maybe more at the Royal Rumble to set up something for WrestleMania later on. So for December 1st episode of Raw right now, we had the Last Time Is Now tournament with LA Knight defeating Jey Uso, and Jey expressed a lot of frustration after that loss. Gunther defeats Solo Sikoa, and what a match it was. And Solo looked very good in this match. His stocks are rising recently. We had a World Tag Team Championship match with AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus the New Day. Now, great match, and what a freaking finish. Oh my God. With that double stomp to Kofi's back, and he gets right in a Styles Clash position. Wow. Incredible finish. The tag belts being defended more these days is great. And I did talk about that last week that the tag team championships need to be defended more often, and it was a forgotten cornerstone of WWE. I talked about that last week on my podcast. Now, women's tag team match we had probably for a number one contendership with, even if it was not confirmed. We had Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Now, this match was more to set up the chaos that would ensue after the match, because the match was going great. As the Kabuki Warriors, who clearly didn't want to face any of those teams, the Judgment Day and Bailey Lyra teams got involved in the match, resulting in a no contest result. Seeing the Women's World Tag Team Championship being in the center of attention is great, with all those teams involved in that storyline. That gives a chance to other women getting singles attention. Vaquer, Cargill, uh, and the likes for in the future. Other meaningful stories on Raw. Liv Morgan is back, and the Judgment Day are bracing to retake over Monday nights. Liv is gunning for Stephanie Vaquer's title. Roxanne Perez and Raquel will battle for the tag team titles. Dominic is the AAA Mega Champion and Intercontinental Champion. And Finn and JD, if Finn doesn't embark on a face turn storyline like I stated a couple of months ago, will try to go for the tag titles once again. So, all in all, a good episode of Raw sets up for the finals of the last time tournament on SmackDown, and gets an intrigue for the Women's Tag Team Championship, which has right now 5 teams involved. And we had a 6th team getting involved Friday night on SmackDown, but later, more on that later. So on to NXT's episode of December 2nd. We have a feud brewing between Joe Hendry, Tia Hale, and on the other side, Stax Lorenzo and Ariana Grace. Makes me think that WWE is thinking more and more about starting a mixed tag team championship title. This will be the topic of a future opinion segment on this podcast. Thea had the better of Ariana Grace in the singles match there. We had a 6-woman tag team match with Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Kendall Gray versus Fatal Influence, and we saw Sol Ruka snatch the soul of JC for the win. Gives a signal that Sol could be the winner at the end of the Iron Survivor challenge. But at the end of the match, we saw Zarya spear Kendall Gray, but was that spear intended for Sol Ruka? Which a lot of people think, and I'm one of them. Dark State faced 4 other competitors in the men's Iron Survivor Challenge, and Miles Bourne came out on top. He will have the right to choose which rank he starts the match, and I bet it will be number 1 or number 2. Now, there was also a match between Tavion Heights and Josh Briggs. Briggs came out on top of that. There was not many storyline development in NXT this week. It was more a setup for, of course, the Deadline Premium Live event that will take place tonight. I make my predictions for Deadline at the end of this video. Now, there was also the contract signing for Oba Femi versus Ricky Saints, and it was announced that it would be starting the show. So that's it for my NXT recap. Let's go to SmackDown. So, first segment, we saw Cody Rhodes attack Drew McIntyre in his pickup truck. Nick Aldis was chasing Drew McIntyre out of the building because he's suspended, and Cody came to the ring and asked Nick Aldis to reinstate Cody because he wants to, quote, crush him stomp him like a cockroach. First match of the night, we saw Ilya Dragunov retain his U.S. title against Carmelo Hayes in a hell of a match. The ending of was not to Dragunov's liking because Tommaso Ciampa interfered, and later Aldis confirmed that Ciampa would face Dragunov for the title next week. But I expect that there will be interference from Carmelo Hayes in that match next Friday. In another match, we saw Alexa Bliss get the best of Kairi Sane in a singles match. But after the match, we saw Lash Legend and Nia Jax attack Bliss and Charlotte Flair. The Kabuki Warriors joined the fray, and there's something big brewing in the women's tag division. Could we see an Elimination Chamber match with those 6 teams for the titles? Could be, but it could be also for the first episode of Raw in 2026, because I think they're preparing a big event, a big Raw for the start of 2026 on Netflix. Jade Cargill absolutely destroyed Alba Fire, but Julia and Kiana James came ringside to attack Chelsea Green while the match was happening. This gives me the signal that Green will resume her replacement Slajan search. Could we see Carmen Petrovich join the Secret Service? Could be. And I'm happy to see that Julia is back in the U.S. Title picture. We'll see where that goes. I made a fantasy booking about that not later than 2 weeks ago. Maybe you should check it out. I posted it this week as an individual video. Maybe check that one out. Last time is now tournament final. Gunther defeated LA Knight via submission. And that submission hold is very significant because it looks a lot like an STF. And Gunther said after the match that Cena will give up. So what I expect next week on Saturday night's main event is to have Gunther try to make Cena tap out all match long. It's going to be submission after submission after submission, and he will try to get Cena to tap out. If Gunther wins, it's not going to be by tap out. Probably Cena will pass out, therefore giving the match to Gunther. But they will keep Cena's never give up motto legacy alive, I think. If they make Cena tap out to Gunther, that would be a shocker for me, but that would be a huge deal for Gunther, being the only guy probably to ever make Cena tap out. Not sure. Maybe in the beginning of his career he did tap out, but since he has that never give up motto, I don't think Cena ever tapped out. Now, in other stories, we had Solo Sikoa declare war on the Wyatt Six faction. Look for this to develop in the near future. Surely a tag title change is going to happen in this feud down the line. And it was announced that 2 NXT wrestlers would perform at Saturday night's main event next week. Sol Ruka will face Bailey, And guess what? I expect Sol Ruka to win. Yeah, you heard it here. I expect Sol Ruka to win that match unless there's an interference from Zarya. But I think Sol I think Bailey will put over Sol Ruka. I wouldn't be surprised fr- from from Bailey to put Sol Ruka over. And it was also announced that Cody Rhodes would face the winner of the Ricky Saints versus Oba Femi match. So, are we going to see Oba versus Cody, or are we going to see Ricky Saints versus Cody? If it's Ricky Saints, he will have beaten Oba Femi. If it's Oba, he could win by disqualification or or something like that and not have the title. Because I think Ricky Saints is going to retain the title tonight at Deadline. Anyway, more on that in my preview and interaction segment where I make my predictions for Deadline tonight. All right, so in my detailed storyline breakdown this week, the NXT Championship. Can Ricky Saints survive the monster? The NXT Championship picture has never looked more intense. Ricky Saints, the reigning champion, stands as the resilient face of the brand, a fighting champion who earned his spot through grit and determination. Across the ring looms Oba Femi, a powerhouse whose dominance has struck fear into the entire roster. This isn't just a title match, it's a clash of philosophies: heart versus brute force, pride versus power. Ricky Saints is strength. He thrives on technical precision and adaptability. His ability to counter and outthink opponents makes him dangerous against bigger foes. He proved it when he beat Oba Femi a couple of months ago. As champion, Ricky has been positioned as the workhorse of NXT, defending his title against all comers and proving he belongs at the top. His resilience, that's his X factor. Ricky has made a career out of surviving storms and finding openings when the odds are stacked against him. Oba Femi, the challenger. His strength: Oba is a physical specimen. Raw strength, explosive power, and an aura of intimidation and dominance. Few can match his dominance in the ring. His momentum is after dismantling multiple opponents during his NXT title reign and in his NXT North American title reign. Oba has built a reputation as the most feared competitor in NXT. His rise feels inevitable. The X factor is his ability to end matches in seconds. If Oba lands his power offense early, Ricky's reign could be over like this. So the storyline dynamics, this feud thrives on contrast. The champion's perspective, Ricky Saints, Ricky isn't just defending a title, he's defending his identity as a fighting champion. His promos emphasize heart, resilience, and skill, painting him as the embodiment of NXT's underdog spirit. He knows that Oba Femi is a physical monster, so Ricky leans into the psychological game, reminding fans that technique and strategy can topple brute force. Every single interaction with Oba is a test of courage. Ricky's refusal to back down makes him relatable and heroic. And that fuels investment from the fans in his journey. On the other hand, we got Oba Femi's perspective, which role is pure dominance. His promos drip with disdain, framing Ricky as a placeholder champion who's out of his depths. He uses intimidation tactics, staring down Ricky, ambushing him backstage, destroying other opponents to send a message. Oba's narrative is about inevitability. He's not asking for the title, he's taking it. This creates a sense of dread and urgency around the match. So, what is the emotional hook? Well, fans are drawn to the David and Goliath dynamic, but with a twist. Ricky isn't the challenger, he's the champion. He's not a rookie, he's the champion, which raises the stakes. If he loses, it's just not a title, it's his credibility. Oba's rise feels unstoppable, making Ricky's defiance even more compelling. Every promo, every stare down adds layers to the question, can Hart overcome Raw power? So why does it work? Well, the tension escalates with every interaction. Ricky's fiery dominance against Oba's cold, calculated intimidation creates a compelling narrative that feels big enough for Deadline's main event, even though it's going to be opening the show. The feud taps into timeless wrestling storytelling, contrast of styles, clear motivations, and escalating tensions. It positions both men for future success. Ricky as the resilient hero, Oba as the monster heel who could dominate NXT for months once again. So why does this feud matter? This isn't just about the NXT title, it's about identity. Ricky Saints represents the heart and soul of NXT right now, while Oba Femi symbolizes the unstoppable force that could redefine the brand. No matter who wins, this match will shape NXT's future. So, what are the possible outcomes? Well, first of all, Oba Femi wins the title back, and he goes on into a streak of dominance and dominant title defenses. But the feud could continue with Ricky Saints, who can have another title shot. But if that title shot is turned down, or if Oba wins again against Ricky Saints, my guess is Ricky Saints would be going to the main roster. Just like Trick William is probably main roster bound right now. Now, if Ricky Saints wins and keeps the title, in my opinion, that would signal a call up for Oba Femi to the main roster very soon. Next week, in my opinion segment, I will be talking about the 3-hour SmackDown format that's coming in 2026. So stay tuned for that. But right now, let's talk about my opinion for this week. So, for my opinion segment this week, who could be the 2026 Royal Rumble winners and why? So, let's start with the men's. My first candidate would be Gunther. His strength, incredible stamina, and technical precision. He's a dominant powerhouse with unmatched striking ability. Just think about his chops. Oh my God. Momentum. Longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in history and a two-time World Heavyweight Champion. And he is booked as nearly unbeatable. The X factor is his endurance. He can last from early entry to the final moments, making him a perfect Rumble threat. Why he should win? Well, Gunther is a monster pick. While I see him more as an Elimination Chamber winner to face CM Punk and have a return match from SummerSlam, WWE could still use the Rumble to set up a dominant WrestleMania main event. His credibility and aura make him a top tier favorite. I see him be the runner up in a Rumble to the guy I think will win. Later on this. Second candidate, Drew McIntyre. His strength, veteran experience and proven Rumble winner. Physical strength combined with agility for his size. He brings the momentum he has right now is that he reinvented his persona with a more aggressive edge, staying relevant in main event storylines. The X Factor is he's got a big match credibility, and fans believe he can headline WrestleMania again. So why he should win? Drew winning the Royal Rumble to challenge CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship feels very plausible. It would bring back the heated feud they had a few years ago, and Drew could get his revenge on Punk for when he cost him the World Heavyweight Championship after he beat Rollins at WrestleMania, and Damian Priest cashed in Money in the Bank on him. Now, this one is going to be popular with the people online. Third candidate, L.A. Knight. Yeah. He's got elite charisma and mic skills. Connects with the crowd like few others. Solid in-ring ability with explosive offense. The momentum he has right now, he's one of WWE's hottest acts, consistently getting massive reactions, and of course, strong merchandise sales. So the X factor is his popularity. WWE could ride the wave and give fans the ultimate yeah moment. So why he should win? Well, his popularity is undeniable. A Rumble win would be the perfect payoff for his rise and could set up a match against either Cody Rhodes or CM Punk for a world title. Candidate number 4, Sami Zayn. Now, the Royal Rumble being in Saudi Arabia gives me vibes that Sami could very well be the winner. He's an exceptional storyteller and resilient underdog. And is in-ring style is very versatile and he can adapt to any opponent. So he's a favorite. Well, okay. He's a fan favorite for after emotional storylines still relevant in major feuds. And the X factor would be an emotional payoff. His win would create one of the most heartfelt WrestleMania builds ever. Why he should win? A Rumble win would ignite the crowd and could lead to a deeply emotional WrestleMania feud, possibly against CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. WWE loves a feel-good moment, and Sami could deliver that. And I think that he will be the winner this year and go on to face Cody Rhodes, or better yet. And for this, watch my booking room segment from my podcast episode of November 15th, which I posted individually on November 28th, booking room with Cody Rhodes road to WrestleMania. So better yet, he could face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania and have this rivalry with Drew. And we all know the story that they tell every time Sami faces Drew. Sami has never beaten Drew McIntyre in a one-on-one matchup. So will we see that at WrestleMania and Sami finally beats Drew McIntyre? Go watch my booking room segment that I posted on November 28th, and you'll see how I would see this coming. And finally, my final candidate, Braun Breaker. Braun has raw power and explosive athleticism, a true physical specimen. And his aggressive style is perfect for eliminating multiple opponents. He is a rising star from NXT dominance, transitioning from NXT dominance to main roster spotlight. The X Factor, well, it's a shock factor. And an unexpected win would instantly make him a top tier star. So why he should win? A breakout star who's already making waves on the main roster and is predicted to be a future WrestleMania main eventer. WWE loves using the Rumble to elevate new powerhouses, and Braun fits that mold perfectly. So who will win the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble? Well, it's tough to tell, but something tells me that the Rumble, being Saudi Arabia, could signal that Sami Zayn will win it. WWE has been making him say that he will be a world champion for the better part of 2 years now. And I think it's time to capitalize on that. So now let's take a look at the women's side. You can't overlook this one, and it's Rhea Ripley. Now, her strength, she's a dominant powerhouse with a ruthless attitude. Her size and strength makes her extremely hard to eliminate. As a top star in the company, she's been booked strong for months, and I would say for years, which signals a lot of confidence from WWE executives. The X factor is her intimidation. Few competitors want to go head to head with her. And why she should win? She has been dominant for years and is arguably the most feared competitor in the women's division. A Royal Rumble win a second Royal Rumble win would reinforce her status as a top star and allow WWE to book a dream match at WrestleMania, possibly against Stephanie Vaquer. Candidate number 2, and this one is a mainstay, and it's the man, Becky Lynch. She thrives in big match situations, and her experience and resilience make her dangerous even when outnumbered. Becky's popularity and storytelling ability often puts her in marquee spots, especially on the road to WrestleMania. And the X factor is that she's unpredictable. Could enter early and last the whole match, or show up late for a shocking win. So why she should win? Well, I would say Becky wins the match, the Rumble, faces Stephanie Vaquer at Mania, and does the same thing she did with Rhea a couple of years ago. She puts Vaquer over to set up Vaquer for even better credibility, having beaten Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Third candidate, Io Sky. Her strength, well, she's a high-flying daredevil with unmatched aerial offense. That's why she's called the genius of the sky. Her speed and creativity makes her hard to catch. So, as a recent champion, Io has credibility and fan support, especially among hardcore fans. She is recognized as one of the best in the world. Her ability to turn the tide with sudden bursts of offense, perfect for surprise eliminations. So why she should win? Well, Io represents the present of WWE's women's division. A Rumble victory would elevate her to true, even more main event status and showcase WWE's commitment to fresh matchups. Her unique style and fan support make her an exciting choice for a WrestleMania title shot, and that would set up a rematch against Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship. Now, this one, a lot of people online will be happy about, and that's Liv Morgan, who just came back from injury last Saturday at Survivor Series. Now, Liv's strength is she's the ultimate underdog with a never quit attitude. Liv has proven she can shock the world when given the chance. While not always booked as dominant, her resilience and fan connection keeps her relevant. And again, she is unpredictable too. She could benefit from alliances or sneak through the chaos to the final moments. She proved that being a runner-up two or three times already. So why she should win? A Rumble win would be a career-defining moment and give fans a feel-good WrestleMania build. WWE loves surprise winner, and Liv's resilience and popularity makes her a believable dark horse. And that would also set up a match against Stephanie Vaquer. Bianca Belair. She's known as the EST of WWE. Bianca combines incredible athleticism with raw power, and her stamina and agility makes her a favorite in long matches like the Rumble. After multiple high-profile wins before her injury and a strong WrestleMania track record, she's always in the conversation for major victories. Her ability to adapt and her signature braid whip gives her a unique edge in chaotic environment. So why should Bianca win? she is one of WWE's most consistent performers and a proven WrestleMania main eventer. Giving her another Rumble victory would cement her legacy as one of the greatest of her era and set up a blockbuster title match against Jade Cargill, who is currently disrespecting everyone in the SmackDown women's locker room. Her athleticism and fan popularity make her a safe and exciting choice. And I think Bianca Belair will win the 2026 Royal Rumble. And this would set up a stacked Elimination Chamber match for the privilege to face Stephanie Vaquer at WrestlePalooza. Now, here would be the participants of that Elimination Chamber match: Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Liv Morgan, Io Sky, and Lyra Valkyria. Now, depending on what storyline WWE would want to go with on the Women's Tag Team Championship, which looks like they want to go Rhea Io against the Kabuki Warriors, I would have either Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan winning the chamber. If WWE wants a Ripley Sky versus Kabuki Warriors match for the tag titles at Mania, well, then Liv is winning the Rumble. If not, I would have Rhea face Vaquer at Mania. So, in my booking room segment this week, can Carmelo Hayes outsmart The Miz's mind games? The road to WrestleMania is paved with ambition, betrayal, and mind games. And few rivalries capture that better than the brewing war between Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. What started as a promising partnership has spiraled into a bitter feud, fueled by ego and opportunity. Initially, Miz took Melo under his wing, forming a tag team that seemed destined for success. But while Miz envisioned tag team gold, Melo had his sights set on singles glory and the United States Championship. That clash of visions came to a head when Melo answered Ilya Dragunov's open challenge, only for Miz to attack him before the match started, costing him the title and igniting a personal vendetta. From that moment, the story became clear. Miz sees Melo as an ungrateful protege who turned his back on him, while Melo believes Miz is holding him back from becoming him. So if I were steering WWE's creative direction, here's how I would book this storyline all the way to WrestleMania. So let's go into booking room. The setup. So December 12th, SmackDown episode. Carmelo answers the United States Championship Open Challenge, once again issued by Ilya Dragunov. This match would be the best match on SmackDown that night until The Miz comes and attacks Carmelo, which triggers a disqualification victory for Dragunov. No, he attacks Dragunov. No, he attacks Melo. That's it. He attacks Melo, so that is a disqualification victory for Carmelo Hayes. After the match, Dragunov tells The Miz to mind his own business, or he will make sure of it that he will not interfere in his matches anymore. Miz answers that Melo was his business. So Nick Aldis arrives and announces that at Saturday night's main event, it will be a triple threat match for the U.S. title, Dragunov versus Miz versus Carmelo Hayes. And Dragunov looks thrilled by the idea of inflicting pain to the Miz. So, next night, Saturday night's main event, Ilya Dragunov versus the Miz versus Carmelo Hayes, and Dragunov retains the title by pinning the Miz after the following sequence. Melo hits nothing but net on the Miz. Dragunov hits Torpedo Moscow on Melo, who rolls out of the ring, and Dragunov hits the H-bomb on Miz for the pin. So that makes that Dragunov stay strong, and it gets the feud going even further between The Miz and Carmelo. So the fallout after Saturday night's main event. Let's go to December 19th episode of SmackDown. A face-off backstage where Miz accuses Melo of costing him the title, and Melo, on the other hand, says Miz was holding him back. And Nick Aldis comes and says, well, I'll make a match for the number one contendership between Carmelo Hayes and Tommaso Ciampa. So December 26th, on SmackDown, Miz versus Ciampa, and here's the final sequence. Melo hits nothing but net on Ciampa. Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano distract the referee. The Miz interferes in the match and attacks Hayes with the skull-crushing finale behind the referee's back. Ciampa gets up, follows with a fairy tale ending for the win. So the Miz cost Carmelo his chance once again for the U.S. title. And that makes Tommaso Ciampa the number one contender for the U.S. title because, as we know, in the last few weeks, Ciampa had some interactions with Dragunov about that title too. So January 2nd, SmackDown, Melo confronts The Miz for costing him the number one contender spot for the U.S. title because he had Ciampa beat. Miz says that as long as he will be around, he will make Melo's life a living hell and will never get a U.S. title shot. So we now embark to the road to the Royal Rumble. January 9th, SmackDown. Carmelo comes out to answer Ilya Dragunov's open challenge again, but Miz attacks him and leaves him laying after a skull-crushing finale on the floor. So we go to January 16th episode of SmackDown. The Miz now comes out to accept Dragunov's challenge, but Melo attacks The Miz and both brawl going backstage. Just to keep putting fuel on the fire. January 23rd, Melo versus The Miz. Miz wins the match by pinning Melo with his feet on the rope. So Miz gets another win on Carmelo. We get to the Royal Rumble. And in the Royal Rumble match itself, Carmelo enters at number 4. And he has a great performance, being one of the Iron Man of the match, lasting something like 30-35 minutes. Miz enters at number 24, and Carmelo eliminates him almost immediately. Miz climbs on the ring apron. Melo goes and tries to attack him by running at him. Miz avoids it, pulls down the ropes. Melo tips over the ring, right down to the floor, and gets eliminated that way. So we embark on the road to WrestleMania. February 6th, SmackDown. Melo goes to Nick Aldis and asks for a match against The Miz. And all this makes the match for the next week. So we go to SmackDown episode of Friday, February 13th. Melo versus Miz. Miz cheats again to win the match. Melo attacks the Miz after the match and leaves him laying. So we go to SmackDown. We have a segment backstage where Miz attacks Melo and leaves him laying, giving him a kayfabe injury. Melo goes off TV for about a month. We get to April 4th, SmackDown episode. Miz is in a match against Ilya Dragunov again for the United States Championship and hits the skull-crushing finale on Dragunov, ready for the pin attempt. Right then and there, Carmelo Hayes' music hits and he comes out in the aisle. So Miz just looks at him, but Milo stops in the aisle and does nothing. Dragunov gets up, hits Torpedo Moscow and H-Bomb, and retains the title. And then Melo has a mic in his hand, and he announces that at WrestleMania, it will be The Miz versus Carmelo Hayes in a no-holds-barred match. And that he will definitely show The Miz that Melo don't miss and show him once and for all why he is him. We get to WrestleMania Saturday. Carmelo Hayes wins a hard-fought match to get his big win and final payoff for that feud. So after Mania, what can happen? We can have Melo going in the Money in the Bank ladder match. We can have Melo going for the U.S. title and finally maybe beat Ilya Dragunov for the U.S. title and embark in his first singles title reign on the main roster. So tell me what you think about this booking room segment. And until we see you again. Okay, so my preview and interaction segment. I did a live about this for my NXT Deadline predictions last night, but I'm going to repeat them here. So, first match for Deadline was announced. It's going to be Ricky Saints versus Oba Femi for the NXT Championship. Now, the loser of this match is likely going to be called up to SmackDown, and I think that this guy is going to be Oba Femi. So Ricky Saints, I think, will retain his title at Deadline tonight. Ethan Page versus Mr. Iguana for the NXT North American Championship. Now, Mr. Iguana is very popular, but I think he's going to lose this match. I expect interference by Chelsea Green during the match, and Lola Vice will also come to the ring to counter Chelsea. But that's when Page is going to hit this signature move and retain the championship. Sol Ruka versus Lola Vice versus Kalani Jordan versus Jordan Grace versus Kendall Gray. It's the NXT Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. And I'm hesitating a lot. NXT is very hard to predict because of all the call-ups, because of all the tests they want to make with the wrestlers. And I think if NXT wants to go heel versus heel route for New Year's Evil, Kalani is going to take the match. If they want a face versus heel, Sol Ruka or Kendall Gray might take it. I think Sol Ruka has the best chance going in as a baby face, but I think that what they're going to do is maybe Zarya cost Sol Ruka the match at the end, and have Kalani Jordan take it home. Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. Now, is Tatum Paxley going to get called up maybe on Raw? Imagine this: Tatum, Lyra, and Bailey. So basically, Lyra will have to control the two crazies or something like that. Just a thought like this. But I think Tatum is going to get called up pretty soon. I think Izzy Dame is taking that match. If Tatum stays in NXT, I think Tatum takes that match. And the men's Iron Survivor Challenge, Javon Evans versus Leon Slater versus Dion Lennox versus Joe Hendry versus Miles Bourne. My favorite going in, and he seems to be in a big push, is Miles Bourne. Leon Slater and Javon Evans would be spectacular choices, but I don't think they will. I think Bourne is going to take this. Dark State is going to play a role in the match to try to get Lennox to win. And I think Joe Hendry will not win because he might be going to the main roster as well. On the women's Survivor match, I didn't touch on Jordan Grace, but I don't think she will win because I think she is SmackDown bound as well. So on tap next week, my detailed storyline breakdown. I'm going to talk about the Judgment Day. Are they back on track to dominate Raw with the return of Liv Morgan? My opinion segment. I just talked about this. SmackDown going 3 hours in 2026. Who should be called up to complete the SmackDown roster? Men and women. And in my booking room, this one is going to be fun. Could Becky Lynch versus Jessika Carr be the next WrestleMania shocker match? What happens when the man crosses paths with the referee? Rumors are swirling, and the Analyst's booking room is buzzing. Could Becky Lynch versus Jessika Carr be the WrestleMania shocker no one saw coming a year ago? And this week in WWE history, December 5th, 2016, on the episode of Raw, one of the most infamous segments on Raw occurred back then when Charlotte Flair, after losing the Raw Women's Championship to Sasha Banks, invited her father Rick to the ring under the pretense of an apology. After luring him in with a hug, she slapped him across the face and accused him of betraying her, cementing a heel turn ahead of their Iron Man match. And the day before TLC 2016, there were a lot of title changes. And one of those title changes was Alexa Bliss beating Becky Lynch in a TLC match to win a SmackDown's Women's Championship. So that's it for this week. Hope you liked this episode. And leave a comment, ask any question you want, and hope to see you next week. Have a nice week. That's it for this week, and thank you for listening to the Wrestling Analyst podcast, Beyond the Bell. If you loved what you heard, smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the action. Got opinions? Share them in the comments. I want to hear your take. So until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and keep going beyond the bell.